All right, friends, this is going to be a kind of a combination of a update, sharing with you what's coming up in the future, and kind of a snapshot of, yeah, I saw this coming from a mile away, and you'll find out what I'm talking about here momentarily. But if you think about a video that I released last week of a particular item that just absolutely, utterly failed out of the package.
Oh, I know.
You're going to know exactly where I'm leading with this video here.
Oh, I know.
But a few months ago, I shared with you guys that we had some big plans coming up for the winter season, that I'd be getting out there and doing not just a lot of outing in my turtleback, but we'd be focusing on more ground tents and creating a variety, kind of a little army of different style ground tents that many of you had inquired about, or some that I've just tested. I know they're a bulletproof tent rather, and getting out there and seeing what tents have the grit and which ones do not, and just getting out there and having some fun and testing out various gear. And yeah, winter season, awesome. Now, one of those tents that I have seen many people talking about, and personally have wanted one of these myself for some time, is a company out of Istanbul, Turkey, which I was out there, not too long ago. They have amazing cheese. Anyways, aside the point, back on the topic of the tent here. So the company is Sunz Outdoors, and these guys make, well, after this weekend of playing around with this tent here, what I can best describe as they redefine high quality. And I hate that word because it sounds so cliche to use.
Cliche!
But this tent is, I've not seen another tent built to the level that these guys have, the craftsmanship and the material that they use on these things. It's absolutely amazing. But anyways, part of this past weekend, I was up in Big Bear. I was filming up there, got down to like 13 degrees Fahrenheit. So it was a perfect time to get out and test, played around with the continuation of the diesel heaters from last week. So now you know where this is leading a little bit here.
It's about to get interesting.
But also on the same token, we're finishing up a video on Starlink, as well as this particular Discovery 360 tent that I was up there testing and playing around with and setting up for the first time. Part of this, now if you remember last week, I was talking about this HCALORY Diesel Heater that I picked up, because many of you guys have been inquiring about that and asking what I thought of this heater.
What? It's a piece of crap.
And I shared with you guys my opinion with Chinese diesel heaters have always ended up in the same position, the same spot. And as you're going to find out, this heater did not disappoint. Not one shred at all.
Are you being sarcastic?
Actually, it was almost forecastable to some degree. Forecastable, is that a word? You were going to go with it. Anyways. So get up to Big Bear, and I'm going to have a video coming out that's going to be more focused on the tent, but I'll share with you, this tent was freaking awesome. It was badass. It was so, and on the screen here, I'll put some basic footage of the tent and the setup and all that other fun stuff. And as you can see there, it really pops out quite a bit. And in the back of this thing, now I brought two diesel heaters up with me. I brought my 3-year-old now, a 4 kilowatt Planar portable diesel heater. Now, I've shared with you guys, I've beaten the hell out of this thing. I share with you guys how you're supposed to maintain your heaters, and I've thrown myself underneath the bus and told you I don't do it with this heater. I try to run it when I can and so forth, but a lot of the maintenance stuff I haven't done. And I share that with you, remind you folks about it, because this heater takes a beating. And I'm not saying, yeah, if you pick up one of these heaters, do the same thing. No, I've lucked out. This thing, I've not had a single issue with this heater, and it's just been an absolute champion. One of those items that is a must-have. But anyway, I brought out the HCALORY, and I had a buddy that was coming up, and I feel like a douche for being that buddy that said, "Hey, you can use this heater. I have a spare heater you can use."
That is messed up.
So my buddy comes up with his turtleback, and I have this HCALORY heater. Now the Planar's already heating up the tent that I'm in there, and I will say this. This Discovery 360 tent, from a thermal standpoint, it doesn't have the chops like the RBM Outdoor, the Hexagon tent. That one right there, from a thermal property standpoint, man, it requires less energy because it has 2 walls. So from a thermal standpoint, it just simply, nothing beats that RBM Outdoor Hexagon tent from a thermal standpoint. That tent is an absolute rock star and is designed for cold weather. So the Discovery 360 here is a single wall. So it requires a lot more energy to keep that tent warm. So I had the Planar. The Planar, that thing was going at full steam. And so I was able to keep that tent about 64, 66 degrees throughout the night, even though it was 13 degrees Fahrenheit outdoors. So that thing was working its ass off, and it did a great job. And ultimately, at the end of the running it full blast overnight, I used like a quarter tank, if even that. So usually, like when I'm using that heater, I very rarely will have that cranked up all the way. But this time I did because it's a big tent, and there's no real insulation, so it needed to be running at full steam. But anyways, getting back over to where this video is leading to here is, I told you guys last week, all the Chinese diesel heaters that I've ever tested ended up, they were not reliable, and they just were such a pain in the rear end to even use.
It's crap.
So we set this thing up. My buddy rolls up like 9 p.m. or something like that. It was already dark. So it's funny because that heater, the HCALORY heater, wasn't even put together. And one of the things I hadn't done yet is connect the 12-volt cigarette lighter wires to those wires and crimp them and all that other fun. So that was the only thing I needed to do. So we set this thing up on the back of his turtleback and route the hose into his iCamper tent, and we start trying to fire this thing up, and right away it throws an error code. Reset it, try starting again. Throws an error code, E1. Start over. It basically threw error codes like 3 times. Finally, it started going, and this thing is so stinking loud. And I'm reminded about how I shared with you one of the reasons why I like the Planar diesel heater over some of the, again, there's a few companies that build absolutely the best diesel heaters on the market. Planar, Webasto, and the German company that I always joke around saying I can never pronounce. Anyways, these 3 companies are the cream of the crop, the tip of the sword when it comes to diesel heaters. I like the Planar one best because I found the fuel pump on it is the quietest out of all of these. Now, the Chinese one, it is so darn loud.
Oh, hell no!
When it finally started running. And then this being a brand new heater, like any other brand new heater, it's going to smoke for a little bit when it first starts, burning off all that stuff from the manufacturing. Well, this thing smoked throughout the whole night. It was running for a solid 3 hours while we were tooling around, and it was smoking the entire time. And so, anyway, long story short, and come morning time, I'm just getting up, I'm filming and tooling around, and I'm like, I don't notice the heater running. So I thought my buddy woke up and shut it off. No, and I go out there, and then I'm like, oh, maybe it ran out of fuel. Nope. Plenty of fuel inside of it. But the thing stopped around 1 a.m. in the morning. Now, you remember one of the heaters that I tested, it was that inexpensive one, the $114 Happy something or another, some stupid name to it. Anyways, it died like 2 a.m. in the morning. It was cold as hell up in Alabama hills. Any rate, this one died somewhere around 1 a.m. And yeah, so typical Chinese heater style. It is so unreliable. And so, yeah, anyways, if that was my primary heat source, and like if I had my son with me, for example, I mean, yeah, I would have been really ticked off. But this is a good reason that, let's face it, a good quality anything is going to be an investment. Diesel heaters, I've said this many times. This is one of those areas in overlanding you don't want to skimp, because you have that large pool of inexpensive diesel heaters that are 300 or below. And then you have the semi-okay ones that are, right around that $600 range. But then you really bump it up. If you want to get a good quality heater, you're going to be spending over $1,000 for these things. But at the end of the day, earlier in this discussion, I shared with you how I abuse my heater. I don't maintain it like I tell you guys you should. And I did that for a reason, because I beat the hell out of this thing. Yet when it's time to start up, it doesn't smoke. It just starts up. It does what it's supposed to do. And it does it reliably. And so up in a very cold environment up there, and I know some of you like, 13 degrees, that's beach weather. Well, you know what? For here in California, it was freezing my ass off weather. But the Planar did it, and it did it like it's supposed to. The other one there, and I know many of you are like, wow, what an ass of a friend. You give the crummy heater to your friend. Well, you know what? My defense, I had the other one already running in the other tent, and I can't unplug it just to put it over there. No. but he already knew that ahead of time that he would be getting this particular heater that I was testing.
Oh, that actually makes me feel better.
So I managed expectations long before he even came up to the mountain. But anyway, so that's it. I was planning to do a whole series on comparison of these two heaters, and honestly, I thought the HCALORY would last at least a little bit longer than what it did here to, be able to kind of get a few videos out of this. But man, that thing died the first night. It's not even worth lugging back up to the mountain. So I'm going to share with you, or leave you guys off with that on that note. You get what you pay for. It's such an overused cliche statement to make, but this is just, now it's 5 Chinese diesel heaters. It has to be 5 of those heaters that I've tested, and it's not exaggeration. Every single one of them has been a pain in the ass, has been just a headache to operate. This one definitely takes the cake because it came, it wasn't even put together when you got it, and there's no indication. And they claimed it was an 8 kilowatt, that it was a 5 kilowatt. And there's just so many things about this that it wasn't ready to use out of the box, and there's no proper disclosure of what is needed. And it's funny because I even went to Home Depot to grab some supplies, and I totally forgot that there's no battery in the stupid remote in this thing as well. So I forgot to get that. But it was really incomplete out of the box. So anyways, I'm going to leave you on that. So you want a good quality, and it's funny, in that initial video, I used Tommy Boy little clips in there. And so, Tommy Boy talks about buying a quality product, and that's really what it boils down to. You want to do winter camping, you want good, reliable heat, you got to pony up a few extra bucks to get a good quality heater. But that's all I have here for you guys today. Stay tuned for that video on the Discovery 360 tent. I'm telling you, that thing is absolutely amazing. So we'll see you then.